Jamaica to bridge GDP gap under Mark Golding as Prime Minister. Why was Jamaica allowed to become 3 times poorer than Barbados? This need to change now, but how? These are the GDP per capita in billions of US dollars for the listed Caribbean countries below. GDP per capita in billions of USA dollars. Bahamas, 39.4 billion US dollars. Barbados, 25.3 billion US dollars. Trinidad and Tobago, 19.3 billion US dollars. St. Kitts and Nevis, 22.7 billion US dollars. Jamaica, 6.9 billion US dollars. I think all cabinet ministers in Jamaica should be satisfied with their 200% and 300% wages increase. They should stop their side hustles and start focusing all their attentions on building Jamaica. We have a far way to go as country just to catch up with other Caribbean countries' GDP per capita. Other Caribbean countries' GDP is 300% higher than Jamaica GDP per capita on average. It would take Jamaica 30 years, growing by 10% each year to match other Caribbean countries' GDP per capita. In other words, the average Caribbean country is 3 times richer than Jamaica. To understand the mammoth tasks ahead, one needs to understand that Jamaica has probably never grown by 10% in any year since independence in 1962. The average growth rate since 1962 is 1% to 2% per year. Hence, to grow by 10% per year for 30 years would be an economical miracle for Jamaica to achieve. However, Jamaica needs to start growing by 10% per year for 30 years to have any chance of catching up. For example, in 2024, Jamaica GDP grew by less than 2%, while other Caribbean countries like Barbados GDP grew by 4%. Hence, the gap is still getting wider. So here's the big question. What can Jamaica do to achieve sustained, transformative economic growth? We're not talking about a few percentage points here and there. We're talking about growing our GDP by at least 10% every single year for the next 3 decades. It sounds ambitious, maybe even impossible. But the answer is surprisingly simple, and it's been right in front of us all along. The answer is tourism. Let's look at the numbers because they tell a stark story. The average Caribbean country welcomes 3 times more tourists per capita each year than Jamaica, and it's no coincidence that their GDP per capita is also 3 times higher. This isn't just a correlation, it's a direct economic link. Nations like the Bahamas and the Cayman Islands have built prosperous economies on the back of a thriving tourism sector, creating wealth and opportunities that we are currently missing out on. Consider Barbados. In just the last 5 years, their tourism industry has nearly doubled. They achieved this through strategic investment, targeted marketing, and a national commitment to improving their tourism product. Meanwhile, Jamaica's tourism numbers have flatlined for the better part of a decade. We've been standing still while our neighbors are sprinting ahead. This isn't just a missed opportunity, it's a self-inflicted economic wound. This brings us to a critical turning point. To catch up and truly transform our economy, Jamaica can't just aim for incremental improvements. We need a quantum leap. We need to triple our tourism industry. Yes, you heard that correctly. We must grow from our current 4.3 million visitors to over 13 million visitors annually. This is the scale of ambition required to generate that 10% annual GDP growth we so desperately need. And if you think that number sounds high, let's put it in perspective one more time using Barbados. Jamaica's population of 2.8 million is 10 times the size of Barbados's. To simply match their ratio of tourists to citizens, Jamaica wouldn't need 13 million visitors. We would need 15 million visitors every single year. The potential is staggering. We have the natural beauty, the culture, and the people. The question is no longer we can do it, but we make it happen. Jamaica has a demographic of 1.3 million people between ages 30 and 50. Yet more than half are unskilled, with many unemployed. This is a vast, untapped reservoir of human potential. A strategic tourism expansion could employ up to 300,000 of these individuals, turning a national challenge into our greatest asset. An extra 10 million visitors each year would provide 300,000 permanent full-time jobs, not just in hotels, but across the entire supply chain. For those 30 to 50 years old, this means the promise of a stable career with up to 30 years of productive work, building a new middle class. I've seen the alternative for our diaspora in the UK, proud people in their 70s heading to cleaning jobs at 5 a.m. on icy winter mornings. There's dignity in all work, but shouldn't it be here, at home? There is nothing wrong with Jamaicans working into their 60s in our own tourism industry, contributing to their own communities. Too many Jamaicans give up hope once they reach 40, feeling sidelined due to their unskilled status. We must change this narrative. These Jamaicans could be our engine of growth, earning an extra $10 billion for the economy while building a dignified living for themselves. This is about restoring hope. A steady job means the power to build a future. Those in their 30s and 40s could qualify for mortgages and buy houses to pass on to their children, creating generational wealth. Jamaica must put its dormant workforce to work. It's the most direct path to dramatically increasing our productivity and GDP per capita. Thank you for watching Jamaica Needs 20 Giga-Hotels. We've analyzed the challenges and now we present the solution. A detailed roadmap to a new era of national prosperity for Jamaica. The vision is a UK pound 50 billion repatriation funding program financing 20 Giga-Hotel resorts over 10 years. That's 200 new 1,000 rooms hotels in total. This ambitious scale is essential to elevate Jamaica's tourism density to match regional leaders like Barbados. We will strategically develop 14 resorts on the south coast and 6 on the north, unlocking our true economic potential. But this is about more than numbers. It's about transforming lives. The plan creates 300,000 permanent jobs for our low-skilled citizens, and for every job, a home. 300,000 affordable housing units. To ensure this wealth is shared, we will legislate a national living wage, reaching $30,000 per week by 2030, creating tangible prosperity for Jamaican families. This growth requires a strong foundation. Our agricultural sector must match tourism's 20% yearly expansion. This synergy is critical for achieving food sovereignty, cutting our import bill, and ensuring Jamaican dollars circulate within our own economy, strengthening us from within. This is a bold vision, a challenge to build the Jamaica we deserve. It requires courage from our leaders and belief from our people. Let's have a respectful, nation-building conversation in the comments below. Your voice matters. God bless you. God bless the Jamaican Parliament, and God bless Jamaica. Until my next video, peace. Yo.